What's going on, guys? Hey, I wanted to come to you, and I wanted to bring to you my review of the documentary called The Red Pill. And The Red Pill is about men's rights activism and kind of the unique view and challenges that men face in the world right now. But guys, if you would, please like and subscribe to my channel. I started the channel back in the spring, and I've got 103 subscribers as of right now, and I'd like to get 110 by the weekend if I can. But anyways, guys, stick with me, and we'll go through the documentary and kind of hit some key points of what I consider to be key points of the documentary. Okay, I'm going to kind of start off with her kind of leading into some things, and this is about 15-20 minutes into the documentary, but she brings in Dr. Warren Farrell, who wrote the book The Boy Crisis and the Myth of Male Power. And they're going to kind of go over some things, but I wanted to start here and kind of go from this point.
So what we call patriarchy is men giving into the expected roles that they're supposed to give into, and many of those roles are very harmful. Working except
right. We're giving into the roles that we've been assigned. It's like, we want you to provide for us. Okay, then we provide for you. Okay, but now you're going too far. We want you to take a back seat because we want to have the good jobs. Okay, here's the jobs that we've worked so hard for so many years. Okay, we'll do them for a while. Okay, but now we're upset because you're not providing for us. Okay, so you want us to take those jobs. Like, what do you want these guys to do? You know, we got to understand they are doing the roles that they always thought they needed to do and throughout time had to do. You know, they had to bring home the bacon. They had to kill the animal and bring it home, you know, for it to be cooked up. They had to, you know, it's like, you know, we think that, you know, that now that somehow we can change everything around. And it's like, you know, I understand the women should have opportunities. We're not talking about that. They should have all the opportunities, but you have to understand why some of these men, these fraction of a percent of men, are at the very top because they've worked their freaking asses off to get there. And it's like, you know, but again,
exceptionally long hours, difficult hours, dangerous jobs, getting killed on the job, even politics. A lot of people describe as masochism.
Imagine what it takes to be a successful politician. Imagine how much of your personal life that you give up, how much you work, how much privacy that you sacrifice, how much freedom in your day-to-day life that goes out the window. There are more men willing to do those things than there are women.
We got time for everybody.
But also, just because men are the ones, for instance, writing the laws.
Yeah, have you seen the way these guys age after, you know, 4 or 8 years or whatever in office? I mean, it's just, you know, we got to be honest about this. These guys age rapidly. You know, I think that's one of the reasons why there's so much of a worry about Joe Biden right now, because Joe Biden, we got to understand he's not being political, but I mean, there's something going on with him. He's quite old and he was having quite a bit of difficulty with things. And, you know, even younger, healthier men, you know, after 4 or 8 years or whatever in office, they're having a hard time.
In general, doesn't mean that the laws are protecting men.
you hear about patriarchy, right? All the evils of the world's from patriarchy, but we're the ones dying.
This right here, I think, is really an interesting thing to put up. Patriarchy, number one privilege, and it's like combat deaths are 99.9% male, work deaths are 94% male, homicides are 76% male, and suicides are 75% male. And I mean, it's just interesting. Again, it's like, and 70%, I believe, of suicides are middle-aged male. So majority of suicides, of the male suicides, which are 75%, majority of them, 69.68, I believe it is, are middle-aged white men. So, it's like, but again, they're privileged. Yeah.
And we die for you guys, to protect our families, our friends.
The issues that they have issue with, it's hard for me to completely understand them and just automatically feel welcome in that space of talking about these issues, because at least with feminism, whenever I heard about the issues that feminists were fighting against, I always felt like I had something to draw from and experience to be on board with that. And that's always been why I've been drawn to the feminist movement, is because a lot of what they spoke about I had personal experiences with. And with the men's movement, I have very little personal experiences with the issues that they talk about.
Yeah, I think it's one thing that we kind of got to be honest about. Very often, if we don't experience certain things ourselves, we don't think they exist. If we don't understand something ourselves, if we don't live in those shoes, very often we don't experience them. I'm not saying everything exists the way that we portray it, but I think right now we're starting to understand that just because the mainstream says the power structure is a particular way doesn't mean it's a particular way. It doesn't mean everyone at the so-called top, are better off. Men are at the top, women are at the bottom, black people are at the bottom, whatever. It doesn't mean that everything is good for men or good for whoever we see at the top. And it's like, very often they're not really at the top. It's just an idea, I think, that many of us have in our heads. Yeah, but I'm gonna continue playing this.
A cab driver who was driving a cab 70 hours a week was not saying, I am earning this money to have power over my wife. He was earning this money even though it took power away from his life. He was doing that so his child wouldn't have to drive that cab. The garbage collector does not get up at 3 or 4 in the morning in rain and sleet and snow and get out to do the garbage so he can have more power over his wife. That's power he's losing over his life in order to make his contribution, his sacrifice, his way of loving. And this has been translated into the culture of, you make more money than women do, you must therefore have more power.
Meet Warren Farrell, best-selling author and self-styled social anthropologist, leading an assault on our traditional thinking about men.
I asked my girlfriend at the time to buy me as a gift, I think it was for Christmas or for my birthday, Warren.
See, I think right there, the use of wording, she said, Dr. Warren Farrell leading an assault on the way we think. It's like the choice of words. I don't know if anyone picked that up, but the choice of words, leading an assault.
Farrell's book, The Myth of Male Power. which she did. And it just changed my whole life.
And his premise was, while women are often seen as sex objects, men are often seen as success objects. And this resonated with me.
He wrote this book that questioned our notions of power, of who had power and where it was. And it questioned the roles of men, but not the way feminists had always questioned gender roles.
Every society that survived based on its ability to train its sons to be disposable. Disposable in war as warriors, disposable in work as firefighters, as workers on oil rigs and so on, coal miners, and indirectly, therefore, disposable as dads.
You know, it's one thing for myself, you know, even in my own life, I understand that, and, you know, and not that I wouldn't have it any other way, but like if something were endangering my family, it's like we understand that we are the first to go. Like we stand in the way of in between our family and danger, and in our lives to a degree are more disposable in a way. And it's like, well, you know, and I don't even know if that's the best way to put it, but well, you know, like lifeboats, like if the ship goes down, you know, women and children first, you know, it's like women and children are the ones to get off. And it's like, you know, and it's still that way today. And they kind of go over that in the documentary a little bit too. Like if you're on a cruise, you know, it's still seen as, you know, like men are like healthy, able-bodied men are the last to get on. So, you know, it's last to get off the boat.
What happens in...
I don't know if you guys saw that, but in 2013, majority of the workplace accidents were male. 93% of the workplace deaths were male, and yeah, that's something we don't talk about a whole lot.
men's life when they're raised that they're worthless unless they're a provider, that they must work. Even if they have to take on extremely dangerous work, they must get this done or they're useless as men. That is very, very powerful stuff.
See, feminism did see accurately that we value male work more than we value female work. But there's also the issue that we value female life more than we value male life. Even when that plane went down in New York City a few years ago, and that, you know, the pilot was a hero for the way he landed it and saved everybody.
Word arrived over the citywide fire frequency that a commercial jetliner was in the water with 155 people on board. Then, over the next few minutes, the doors opened, life vests were inflated, and women and children first, everyone got off that plane.
They saved all the women first. That's still, when I went on a cruise, you know, there's still women into the lifeboats first, you know, because...
Again, you know, the guys, that's something we don't talk about a whole lot, but, you know, it's, yeah, I mean, you know, there's this idea that, you know, like he says here, you know, we understand that men can't swim to shore. You know, they can't swim and have an ocean to reach the shore, but but men, what they're saying is male life is more expendable than female life, and it's somehow worth less.
Because you're a man, so you should be able to swim halfway across the ocean, but because you're a man, you're expendable.
We have to look.
See, also the whole idea of manning up. It's like I think most men, would definitely stand in the way of harm between them. They would stand in between harm and their family. They would make sure to protect. However, it's like we understand that's our masculine duty in a way to stand up, but and take the lifeboat last. It's like we are the last ones to get on. But when it comes to other masculine things, like if we're being strong, kind of decisive people, building companies or doing something or running a household or doing whatever, it's like if we get too self-assured, too cocky, we're being toxic. We're not. It's like, and women are. If a woman is doing the same thing, she's being self-assured. She's being confident. She's being a boss babe. She's it's like, but if a male does the same thing, he's being toxic and he needs to take a back seat. And I find it interesting in a way.
Look at not just the glass ceilings, but also the glass cellars. And Paul, I think as you were saying, we have to look at men just not only as human doings, but also as human beings. When you survive because somebody else is willing to die, like in war, then that you are immune to the pain of the people who are dying because you have an investment in their being willing to die. You say, I will build a statue, I will remember you in a history book. But if you look at that from another perspective, that building of the statue or remembering you in a history book is a bribe to be willing to die so that I can live.
But both sexes, in the area where they are rejected, tend to turn what rejects them into an object. So the area where men...
I'm watching this lecture that Warren Farrell's giving in the 90s. I see some women in the crowd, and a lot of them have their hands folded, and there is a little bit of uncomfortableness by being a woman in a crowd of people while the speaker's talking about how men are oppressed and women have it so great. It kind of puts you on the defensive as a woman. And understanding that I feel that way makes me wonder, are men having their arms crossed, listening to a feminist speaker talk about how men have all the power and women are oppressed? Are men feeling like, what are you talking about? I don't have power and we have it pretty shitty on this side of the grass too?
Yeah, I think a lot of times we are. I'm not saying all the times we are. I'm not saying, everything we disagree with. But whenever I hear about the patriarchy and male power and everything else, and even by other men, because I think other men have been sold this bullshit too. And it's like I was involved with the men's group up until so many months ago, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I think they bought into this whole idea that there's this patriarchy. There's this, men run the world, and we're the ones with all the power, and we oppress people, and kind of we ought to be ashamed of ourselves. We ought to watch ourselves. We ought to watch what we do, and but yeah, whenever I hear, especially women talk about that stuff, but even men talk about this stuff, it's like, my arms kind of go across my chest. I guess, I'm kind of at the place where I feel like, what power do I have? Like, I understand that I have power over my own life. We all do. We all have power over our own lives in a way. But, I've got to do the best I can for myself, and we all got to do the best we can for ourselves. But it's like, what power do I have over other people? It's like sometimes I don't even feel like I run my house. I'm kind of, surviving just like everybody else. And it's like, I understand that men, in a way, have certain things easier than women. And, I can go through, I'm not going to do that right now, but I think in some ways, and I'm going to say in very few cases, but in some ways we do have things easier. But I think on the whole, men, they have things a lot tougher than people think they do. They think that men just roll out of bed in the morning and put the pants on, and they're, the people have, they're throwing things at their feet. And it's not true. It's not true at all. Okay, guys, right here is Dr. William Farrell is at the University of Toronto, and I think it's 2012. And he is speaking at the university, and there is a backlash of people, of protesters outside protesting him, talking there. And yeah.
Women hold up half the sky. Women hold up half the sky. Women hold up half the sky. Warren Farrell! Fuck.
Nobody's saying the women don't hold up half the sky. It's like women are, half the population. It's like nobody's saying they don't. It's like women hold up half the sky. Women hold. Yeah. Okay. What's your point?
Warren Farrell! Fuck Warren Farrell! Fuck Warren Farrell! Fuck Warren Farrell! Fuck Warren.
See, like, why are these kids saying this? It's like, again, nobody's demonizing women. They're just talking about male issues, but they're not demonizing women. So why are you so mad? Because they're talking about male issues. They're talking about male problems. We live in a culture to where we have to, if anyone questions the idea of male oppressors and female victims and whatever, even if they're saying that males are victims too of things, and males don't have it the easiest, and we're not saying that women are oppressing us, but males don't have it as easy as you want to have, as you want to have it believe, then people are out there protesting and screaming and yelling.
In 2012, Dr. Warren Farrell was speaking on behalf of men's issues at the University of Toronto in Canada. A feminist group protested the event.
Be fucking ashamed of yourself. You're fucking scum. You are fucking scum. Fucking rape apologist, incest supporting, woman hating, fucking scum. Is there someone else I can wait? Fucking fucking scum. Yeah, just another.
I just want to listen to someone else's opinion. I'm not even on a side here. I just listen to as many people as I can.
You know what, though? Why would you pay money to fucking support a fucking rape apologist if you weren't fucking one?
I never heard him say anything about it.
Well, it's fucking scum.
I mean, just say nastiness. I mean, think about if this was a man, a group of men standing outside of women's, somebody talking about women's issues, girls' issues, and there was a man out there calling women effing scum. Yeah, I mean, nobody is. I mean, again, they think they understand who this guy is, this Dr. Farrell. They think they understand who he is, but they've never read a thing by him, nor have they watched anything by him. They just automatically assume who this guy is. And, it's really concerning that we live in a culture now to where that's the way it is. I mean, people they don't need to do an investigation. They don't need to read anything. They don't need to, and they'd rather not. They just want to be angry. They just want to yell and scream and cuss and whatever. They just want to find a reason to be angry. Right here, they're talking about that, how men are often not allowed to see their kids, or they have limited rights when it comes to the kids, especially compared to the mothers.
I can't tell you how many men have been in this office, in that chair, in tears because they can't see their kids. And some of this stuff ends up in horrific consequences. Like this gentleman here, it's his little son. They found him dead. Not the son, but the young man. In the desert with a bullet in his head. Day before the family court, where it became known that he was going to get to see his little guy even less. And of course, he'd been falsely accused one time after another. It had destroyed his life. It had bankrupted him. It had driven him into debt. It had caused him to miss work. He was about ready to lose his job. He was in the end of his rope, so he just decided to end it.
The unfairness in the family courts, the unfairness in the way child.
Yeah, I think that's a real big thing that I've really started looking into is the unfairness, like he's saying, in the court system, and and just the level of the amount that men are realizing just how unequal things really are.
I met with men's rights activist Karen Strawn late one night in a noisy bar. She became well known for her YouTube videos talking about male disposability and other men's rights issues. And she's a honey badger.
Are awakened by the sound of gunfire. Armed attackers have stormed their boarding school and set fire to dozens of buildings. Nearly 300 of them are dragged from their dorm, loaded onto trucks, and carried away deep into the forest.
From New York to London rallied yesterday demanding that the terrorist group Boko Haram bring back our girls. It just gets to the core of you,
This unconscionable act was committed by a terrorist group determined to keep these girls from getting an education. And what happened in Nigeria was not an isolated incident. It is a story we see every day as girls around the world risk their lives to pursue their ambitions.
I mean, you must have heard about that, right? That's being spun as a fundamentalist Islamic group that is so determined to be misogynistic and oppress girls that they want to deny girls an education. But they are not against girls being educated. They're against anybody getting a Western, secular, or Christian education. The initial attacks, and there were several of them, there were over 100 men killed and 1 woman killed. And the victims were described as people, right, or villagers. And in the previous attacks on the schools, they actually let the girls go. They separated out the boys and girls, and they let the girls go, and they told them, go home, get married, renounce your sins, and live a righteous life under Allah, right? And then they burned the boys alive. There was literally no outrage, right? It was barely reported on. It was one of those things, there was no opinion pieces on it, no nothing, right? Until the girls were kidnapped. And look at it this way, because we played right into their hands, because they want attention, right? And they weren't getting any attention from the...
That's something right there too. It's like there's always this this media, this narrative in the media that we have victim classes. We have people that are victims, and we have people that are oppressors. And even if the oppressors are actually victims, we're not going to report on that because that'll confuse people. That could shift things a little bit, and we're not going to talk about that a whole lot. But yeah. Okay, I'm going to kind of wrap up my video here, but this is the end of the documentary, and she is doing a segment where Hillary Clinton is being asked if women should need to sign up for the draft, or not the draft, the selective service, where if they need to get the draft, if they need to reenact the draft, that's where it's taken from, is the selective service. But she's asked about this, and she answers. And then I'm going to go into circumcision and what I consider to be male gender mutilation. But let me play this.
The commandant of the Marine Corps said that he thinks, and I quote, all eligible and qualified men and women should register for the draft, talking about selective service. Do you think women should also have to register for selective service like men?
I have to think about whether I think it's necessary to go as far as our military officers are recommending. The idea of having everybody register concerns me a little bit unless we have a better idea of where that's going to come out. Where I want people to register, I want every young person to register at the age of 18 to be able to vote automatically. And I think
Yeah, why does that concern you and how it's going to work out? Because the thing is, it's like, if we're going to level the playing field across everything, we're going to have equity. Everything is going to be equal. Everything is going to be equal. Then we need to have that equal. There needs to be just as many women in the military, dying in the military, digging ditches, if we really want things to be equal.
I spent months learning about infant male circumcision, but it only took me watching a 5-minute medical training video to convince me this is a barbaric practice that needs to stop.
Okay, so first thing, make sure he's well restrained. So the
foreskin. Okay? Then we repeat the process with just one end and clamp. Anything that gets clamped gets cut.
All that was left, a partial penis and his tiny testicles. Rhodes says Ashton urinates through a hole in his penis. She says she can't imagine now what she'll say to her son when he's old enough to understand what's happened to him.
How could you explain it to your child that you don't have a penis or you might never be able to have kids?
Alright guys, I'm going to stop the video here, but yeah, if you have a chance, this documentary is really pretty good. It's a 2-hour long documentary. It's called The Red Pill, and down below in the description, I'm going to have the link to the full documentary in the description below. Thanks guys for watching the video, and please like and subscribe to my content. Thanks.